G'day guys and gal. It's a bit of a guessing game these days, that game being which loyalist Primarch will return next. And whilst I have repeatedly bet my soul and innocence that the Lion will be next, GW has actually low-key set up the return of every living loyalist Primarch. Hell, I mean they have also kind of set up the return of the dead ones as well. The 9 Artifacts of Vulkan is the big cuddly pyromaniac Primarch's avenue for return. The deal is simple. If the Salamanders find all the Artifacts of Vulkan and then drink some lava or something, then Vulkan will appear out of nowhere and lead his sons once again. Now this does seem quite childish and cruel by Vulkan, sitting on the sidelines and letting the Imperium burn just because his sons are struggling to find his missing toys, but either way, each artifact is pretty cool, so it makes for a fun video. Before we get started, a lot of mobile games are very samey these days. They all seem to copy the same template, do a reskin, then create these wacky misleading ads to pull people in. Well, I'm happy to say that Bloodline Heroes of Lithis breaks this mold by not only becoming a fantastical dating and shagging simulator, but also features some very cool high-octane combat gameplay. I never thought I'd find a game that did both. Basically, you strategically marry and breed your heroes with each other, creating powerful hybrids to use in battle and progress through the game. You can also shag your own heroes to create heirs. Not sure how that works logistically, my phone's charge port isn't that big, but let's just roll with it. This isn't like a gimmick feature, there are over like 800 different hybrid heroes that you can breed and use in battle, and boy are the battles fun. I'll just show you some gameplay and then you can decide. So to give Bloodline Heroes of Lithis a shot for free, then use my link below, or scan this QR code on screen, which will give you 1 summoning crystal, 100,000 gold, and 100 diamonds, all up worth about $20. This offer is for both iOS and Android. Cheers to Bloodline Heroes of Lithis for sponsoring this video. Today we will go over each of the 9 artifacts of Vulkan, discussing what they are, where they are, as well as more info about the prophecy of Vulkan's return. Maybe we can even get a good idea on where Vulkan is in the process. Let's get into it. Vulkan was a legendary craftsman of pretty much everything. Whilst Ferris or Perturabo's creations may have been more efficient or effective, they didn't hold a candle to Vulkan's creativity. This dude built the most wild shit, including super weapons that could low-key maybe kill the warp. But that device, the Talisman of 7 Hammers, could have easily gone either way, so it's good nobody actually activated it. He made weapons and armor for a number of his brothers, with even Ferris gratefully accepting a weapon off Vulkan, despite Ferris usually being the one to make weapons for others. Fuck, I mean Vulkan's Warhammer was originally meant for Horus, but Vulkan sensed that his brother was a low-key piece of shit, so he decided not to give it to him, making Vulkan and Korax the only loyal Primarchs who weren't completely blindsided by Horus's betrayal. The point is, there is a fuckload more than just 9 artifacts of Vulkan. However, when the heresy broke out, Vulkan thought that his weapons, his artifacts, were too OP and could fall into the wrong hands, so he ordered his Forge Master Astartes to destroy it all. The Forge Master was like, bruh, this is the highest level gear in the entire galaxy, and you want to destroy it all? Are you fucked? And Vulkan was like, okay, good point. How about you choose 7 of the coolest to keep here while I take my hammer, my flame gauntlet, and my other personal shit to Istvan. So a deal was struck. 7 artifacts were kept on Nocturne, whilst Vulkan took the other 2, that being his flame gauntlet and his scale cloak, with him. The thousands of other hectic artifacts were then destroyed. To make matters worse, Vulkan got a nuke dropped on his ass during the Istvan drop site massacre and then became Conrad Curse's undying plaything. Hence Vulkan lost his scale cloak, which was one of the artifacts. But wait, there's more. The 7 artifacts left on Nocturne were put on a ship called the Chalice of Fire, which was one of the 7 artifacts. This ship was a beast, able to mass produce unmatched weapons and armor whilst also being a juggernaut in battle. It was also mounted with the Eye of Vulkan, another of the 7 artifacts, which was basically a Death Star laser beam. However, as the Chalice was traveling to a vault of Vulkan, a good place to store the artifacts since Vulkan fell at Istvan, the Salamanders discovered that the vault was already under siege by the Sons of Horus and Dark Mechanicum. The good news is that an Iron Hand ship came to their rescue. The bad news is that Iron Hand ship wanted the artifacts of Vulkan to themselves to use against Horus. The Salamanders were like, nah, sorry bro, that just sounds like a speedrun tactic to hand over these artifacts to Horus. That, as well as the fact that Vulkan had strictly ordered them to lock away the artifacts if he fell on Istvan. The Iron Hands insisted, so the Salamanders used the Eye of Vulkan to annihilate their ship and kill them all. Yeah, a lot of retarded shit happened during the Horus Heresy. The Chalice of Fire was damaged, hence the Salamanders on board decided to go into stasis, allowing the ship to drift with the artifacts on board, hoping to find salvation. So yeah, straight after the heresy, all the artifacts of Vulkan were lost. Now we have the context to the artifacts. What are they, but more importantly, where the fuck are they? The first is the Chalice of Fire, the legendary forge ship which housed the other artifacts. Well, luckily for the Salamanders, in M41, so about 10,000 years after it was lost, it was rediscovered by Vulkan Durson, the Forge Master at the time, with the Eye of Vulkan still intact. So BAM! 2 artifacts in one go. Unfortunately, the drifting ship had been plundered during its drift, hence the other artifacts on board were all gone. It appears that the plunderers weren't aware of the value of their plunder, as they did leave the ship and the Eye of Vulkan intact. The Salamanders brought the Chalice of Fire to Prometheus, their homeworld's moon, where it currently resides as a mobile mega forge, pumping out a shitload of top-tier Salamander weapons and armor. The Eye was likewise repaired and is now used as an overpowered orbital weapons platform to protect Prometheus. The third artifact was the Spear of Vulkan, an extremely powerful flame spear that could easily melt through ceramite. At first glance, this does sound a bit like, who the fuck cares, until you realize that ceramite is literally designed for heat protection. Like when you set an Astartes on fire, their armor doesn't melt, they're just cooked from the inside out. However, without Vulkan to use it, the spear is only working at like 1% of its power. Well, not 1%, but it's said that in the hands of a Primarch, the spear can do something sick, like, I don't know, perform ranged circumcisions or something. Now, I've been researching this quite a bit, but I honestly can't find the part of the lore where it talks about how the spear was recovered. However, what I do know is that Trizin the Infinite has a massive stiffy for the spear. Like, you'd think he would have a massive stiffy for all the artifacts of Vulkan, but for some reason, he only really wants the spear. Maybe it's the fact that it can perform ranged circumcision. He has tried to claim it on multiple occasions, and it's implied that he's even killed a few of the Forge Masters in the past. However, with the spear in possession of Vulkan Histan, one of the baddest motherfuckers in the galaxy, Trizin is gonna have a rough time getting it. The next artifact is the Kassar's Mantle, a drake-scaled cloak made from the hide of a legendary salamander. Extremely durable, yet very lightweight. This was one of the artifacts taken to Istvan by Vulkan. It's a testament to the quality of the mantle that it's still around, despite what happened to Vulkan. The Salamanders have since reclaimed Kassar's Mantle, but once again, I'm not entirely sure when or how, but I doubt it was found at the same time as the spear, since the spear was taken from the Chalice of Fire and the mantle was taken from Vulkan's immortal corpse. But what the fuck do I know? I'm just a dumb piece of shit YouTuber. Both the spear and the mantle are currently wielded by Vulkan Histan as he continues his quest to find the other artifacts. The most recently discovered artifact of Vulkan was the Gauntlet of the Forge, another artifact Vulkan brought to Istvan. It's a mighty gauntlet that has a flamer on it. However, despite the device's small mobile size, it burns with the heat of a much larger weapon without the vulnerabilities of carrying a big-ass Prometheum tank on your back. This was recovered by Vulkan Histan after it had fallen into the possession of an Eldar Corsair Lord. That was a massive no-no, so Histan led his Salamanders against the Eldar and personally tore the gauntlet from the Eldar Lord's hands. I have no fucking clue how the Eldar Lord planned on wielding the gauntlet. It was literally made for Primarch Vulkan, one of the largest Primarchs, and Eldar aren't really known for having large frames. Either way, Vulkan Histan now wields the gauntlet, likely after modifying its size to fit. So that's all the artifacts that have been recovered. A big-ass forge ship, a Death Star laser beam, a circumcision spear, a scaled cloak, and a flamethrower fist. What is yet to be found? Well, the issue is that nobody actually knows exactly what the lost artifacts do. Their given names are also probably incorrect, with only scant clues on the Tome of Fire indicating their existence. First is the Engine of Woes, described as, its wrath has never been unleashed. Then there is the Obsidian Chariot, which is said to have armor near impregnable. Then there's the Song of Entropy, which is a drake-headed staff that shoots a beam that ages anything rapidly. And finally, the Unbound Flame, a weapon that is both terrible and wondrous. For the Engine of Woes, yeah, no clue. This is the most mysterious, however it has been described as one of the spicier of the artifacts. Similar story with the Obsidian Chariot, although the name gives a bit of an indicator. Perhaps it's the personal flyer of Vulkan with near invulnerable armor. The Song of Entropy is a bit easier. It's a small staff that shoots out a rapid aging beam that ages its targets by centuries every second, likely reverse engineering some kind of Harad technology. Then there is the Unbound Flame, which was Vulkan's stasis capsule that he was put in after he seemingly died on Macragge. I say seemingly because Vulkan lives! And yeah, he did come back to life. I don't really know why this stasis capsule is described as a weapon that is both terrible and wondrous. However, I get the feeling that there is something within the capsule that is dangerous, rather than the capsule itself. Maybe Vulkan's in there. This artifact is likely the next to be found, as Heastan thinks he knows where it is. So now we know of the artifacts, what about the prophecy of Vulkan's return? Well, the prophecy is fucking retarded, and I don't think it's even canon anymore. Basically, Vulkan left the Salamanders the Tome of Fire, which said that he was leaving to go do something and that his sons were not worthy of his leadership. So he hid the 9 artifacts, and if they manage to find them all, he will judge them worthy once again and return. I hope you can see why this is so stupid. Firstly, Vulkan isn't the kind of guy to fuck with people, especially his own sons, and lead them on this wacky where's Wally. Secondly, we already know he didn't hide at least half the artifacts, since they were adrift on the Chalice of Fire. I mean, he probably didn't hide any of them. I think that Vulkan will return when all the artifacts are found, not because he's hiding in a bush waiting for that time, but because I think when they're brought together, they will form a key that will unlock something holding Vulkan. What could be holding him? I don't know. As I said, maybe he is in the Unbound Flame, which can only be opened by the other 8 artifacts. Either way, I don't think we're going to see Vulkan return for a very long time. The Lion, Lehman, Jagadai, and fuck, even Corvus are much more poised to return, with GW likely picking whoever they think will sell the best. Unfortunately, the Salamanders just aren't the most popular legion, but either way, I do hope the writers keep letting the Salamanders find the artifacts. It's a cool fun bit of lore for a bunch of cool fun friendly Salamanders. If you enjoyed the video and you want to support the channel, then pick up a major mini. We have Orcs, Space Elves, Chaotic Warriors, Soldiers of the Emperor. You think it, we might have it. Hit the subscribe button and hit the real subscribe button for more fiery content. Join the Discord for more memes and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.